There are many different types of tomatoes, but most gardeners like to include at least one bush of cherry tomatoes. This type of tomatoes come in red, orange and yellow, and they are equally sweet and delicious when they are ripened on the vine. It's a good idea to know the basics of how to grow cherry tomatoes before you get started. First, cherry tomatoes are the easiest tomatoes for beginners to grow. They produce crop after crop and have very few problems as compared to the regular tomatoes. Tomatoes are picky plants that require full sun to develop. These conditions are not ideal with the changing seasons. However, with a proper greenhouse, you can plant your favorite fruit at any time of the year. This is because you can control the conditions of the greenhouse to favor the plant. Our farmer today tells us that because of small fruit size, typically 1 to 2 inches, these high-yielding plants often bear fruit in like 55 to 65 days, with some ready for harvest in as little as 45 days. However, there are those that can take up to 80 days to mature as well. Now, let's get right into it. And welcome to yet another exciting episode of Kilimo na Biashara. Now, in all families, almost all families, a meal is incomplete without tomatoes, right? Well, today we want to explore one variety of tomatoes. Well, there are many varieties, but today we explore cherry tomato. So let's get to the farm and see what this particular farm has for us. Join me. There are so many greenhouses here, but I'm so sure our farmer is in one of these. I can see his shadow. Anthony!
Yeah.
He's here. Hello!
Fine, Linda, how are you?
I'm good.
Yes, welcome.
Asante, nini niendelee huku?
We are planting cherry tomatoes, and we are welcome to see them as we plant them.
I'm so curious to see the planting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
You're using this volcanic soil.
Yes, we are doing hydroponics. So that is what we are doing cherry tomatoes on. We are doing it on soilless. So our cherry tomatoes, we are growing them on soilless, and we are using these volcanic logs from Naivasha as our media for holding the plant.
So yes. You will show me the entire process.
The whole production cycle.
Wow.
So we are lucky even we have prepared this greenhouse for planting. I'll give you to Caleb, and Caleb, my colleague here, is ready to show you how to plant cherry tomatoes.
Okay, Caleb is right there.
Yes.
Caleb
Bwana Mugo. Naona umeleta wageni.
Hello, Caleb.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes, this is Caleb, and he's here on the farm. He's doing all the planting and leader. We are in safe heart with.
Thank you.
Asante.
Thank you. So where do we start, Caleb?
There is a lot to talk about here. Now, have you been told that we are doing hydroponic farming?
Yes.
You now have that sense that we are not using soil at all.
Yes.
And
Soilless.
It is soilless. We don't use soil because of 1, 2, 3 reasons. We have a lot of soil-borne diseases that we don't want to get from soil. And in Juja, there is a lot of bacterial wilt and bacterial canker. That if you do tomatoes, anything to do with tomatoes, capsicum in the soil, you'll be infected, and you will suffer great loss.
So in this case, which media do you use?
Any media that is inert. Inert means it doesn't have any element in it. Something which is element free. And with that, we can now custom what the plant feed, because the plant feeds on elements. And if I can take you shallowly, plants feed on 17 elements that among them, you learnt them in periodical table, likes of nitrogen, calcium, carbon, oxygen. So with that, we don't want it to be in our media, because we will be customizing what our plant will be feeding on. So the media that we will choose to use, it is an inert media without any element in it, and that's why we chose these volcanic rocks.
Why specifically volcanic rocks?
After volcanic eruption and that thermal reaction that took place, no element can survive in it. In some areas, people will use glass. Some areas, people will use marbles.
I don't understand why some people use glass to grow their crops. I used to wonder. So glass, you can actually grow with glass.
Why do we use the media? The media doesn't have a lot in hydroponics. What it does for us is only anchorage of the roots, just to hold the plant so that the plant can stably grow on it. So in our media, we chose to use something that is locally available and also affordable to any other farmer, which is now the pumice.
Caleb, I'm curious, so what do you integrate pumice with?
A brown thing here, I guess.
And what is that?
We call it cocoa peat. Cocoa peat are just coconut husks that have been crushed. So it is also inert, it doesn't have any element. Now, on our preparation here, we use this plastic thing, you see it, you see here, we call it a maple trough. So we will align it in a greenhouse of 8 by 24 that you can see here. It takes around 6 maple troughs, and they are long enough. And then the maple troughs are the one we use to form the rows in a greenhouse. After placing it, we put pumice on it, and we treat that pumice.
So how do you treat pumice?
It is just making it that making sure that we remove any other trace element that can be inside it. So we wash it with a lot of water, and just to make it that it is in a required pH. So with this, now our media is now good for production. Now the cocoa peat is a little bit compact, and now it can hold water for a while.
Now, since you're talking about water, at this level, does it require a lot of water? Because I see the volcanic rocks are really draining the water.
No, we don't. In fact, in hydroponics, we use less water, less fertilizer, and we will show you in the next greenhouse.
Once you've set up like this, what's the next level?
After we have set up this, we have placed cocoa peat, we have placed pumice in its place. Now we just water it first using a hose pipe to make sure that the media now is wet, because for you to introduce fertilizer, of course, if the media is not wet, now the plant cannot get it. Now once the media is wet, we go directly to the planting.
So after setup, it's planting?
Yes, now it's planting.
Well, let's go plant.
Yes, I can show you.
Okay. I see you have several.
Yes.
It's these ones?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, we will make sure that we get some space for cocoa peat bag.
Caleb, so you just use your hand to dig in?
In most cases we use gloves, but you can still use your hand.
No problem.
So after this, you can now place your cocoa peat.
Okay. Ooh. So I plant with this cover?
Yes. We call them membrane bags. Once the plant grows, the roots will come out through them.
We cover now?
Yes.
Okay. Caleb, this is so easy.
Very, very easy.
There's no digging.
From there, we'll just put the drip lines near to pass through the plant, and then once the irrigation will start, it will feed the plant and the plant will start growing.
Let me plant another one.
All right, bring it.
Caleb, you know, once these cherry tomatoes are ready for harvest, I'm coming for them.
Karibu.
So what's the spacing? Because I can't see the measurement.
We always do a spacing of 25 by 30. That gives it enough space for cultural activities. And also, when you see how we grow here, we grow on a zigzag manner. This goes here, this goes here, this goes here, and then
so that one will go
come here. And then the next one there.
So it's a zigzag pattern.
Yes. So with this, you get that this plant, whenever it spreads, it has a good surface area. It has a good surface area. It has a good surface like that to all the plants.
Wow. So at this stage, what are the management practices after we've planted?
The management is only dealing with the pests and dealing with the fungal diseases and doing the feeding.
So in that case, what do you do?
What we do is that on a daily basis, we make sure that the plants are fed. Now in hydroponics farming, when we go to the other greenhouse, we'll show you how our system works and we'll show you our feeding regime.
So now let's go see the feeding regime.
Let's go.
So you're saying this is the theater?
This is the theater room.
Why do you call it that though?
Yeah, where we do things that many people don't do.
Which is the feeding regime.
The feeding regime.
So what's the feeding regime?
Yeah, the feeding regime, once we say that we don't have soil here, so we have to feed our crops. So these plants feed on nutrient solution. Now, what is nutrient solution? Nutrient solution, they are just normal fertilizers that have all the elements that plants require. We mix them on a proposed ratio, then we dilute it in water, and then we put it on a fertigation tank where by use of a timer the timer will feed the plants after every 1 hour on a daily basis. So it feeds 10 times a day. We give it 10 cycles from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Yes, that's what our plants feed on, and you can see how they are doing well.
Caleb, before we go to the next level, you're quite youthful. Tell me, how did this project come about?
Now, this is a big project. This project, we were funded by some partners, MasterCard Foundations and the GIZ. So there is this time in Kenya where there were a lot of hunger, where you can see a Kode going to Turkana with some lorries with food. So by that time, these guys came and we wanted idea how we can generate more food in our country, and then they saw it will be better to be done with it by youths. So many youths were taken, me among other thousands of youths, and then we were trained on hydroponics farming. This is not kind of farming that many people do it right here. Most of people who do it from Netherlands, United States, and maybe Israel. So after learning for several years, so this place was used as our learning centers, where that's why you can see many greenhouses. After that, now any youth can now go and do them on their own. So for me, I took most of the greenhouses whereby I leased from my partners, because the foundation gave us some cash, 1.2 M each of us, whereby we were able to raise these greenhouses with. So for me, after some of them left, I leased from them, and we linked up with some lady here. You'll talk with her, whereby now we have a company, we call it Hydroponics Enterprise. We have 7 greenhouses that we are doing cherry tomatoes and other crops.
Promised you that the agronomist is going to tell us other management practices when it comes to cherry tomatoes. So let's find Tony. He's right here. Anthony!
Welcome. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now, so how many varieties do you have here?
We have 2 varieties, but they show the color as they mature. But generally, we have 2 varieties here. We have the oval-shaped and the loud-shaped cherry tomatoes here. So once they grow, we'll see the colors, but most of these are red in color.
With the varieties that you've talked about, what is the difference?
Actually, there's not much difference, but it's through breeding that we get different colors, and that the difference of the color will give the market preference. But As we know, 90% of the market is taken by the red color. Most of the people like the red cherries. Then the other 10% is shared between the orange and the yellow. And mostly when we go to the market, we find the orange and yellow go during occasions. Perhaps you have a wedding which is themed is orange or yellow, then you can have the fruits like that.
Yeah. Anthony, so how do you achieve a good harvest, even before we talk about the market dynamics?
For this crop, as we said, as we started down there, you need to choose the right seedlings, the right seed that you are going to plant, targeting your market. From there, you have to grow it in a good condition. You take it to the seed propagators. When you get your seedling which is strong and very viable, then you plant it here. One thing a plant requires is it requires nutrients. That is one of the key most important in a plant. So you need to feed it well so that you can have a strong plant like this. Other key element is water. Water is very important. You need to feed this plant well to have enough water, because we lose a lot of water through the leaves, and also it requires water in its growth. Then we have micronutrients. Micronutrients are the nutrients which are required in very small quantities. These are like boron, zinc, all those magnesium. They are not required in huge quantities. And because we are in a hydroponic situation, all our nutrients are carried by water to these plants. So we have a tank there where we mix our nutrients together and we feed it on timing.
I remember Caleb say that this crop feeds 10 times a day. So what happens if it's underfed or overfed?
Then you have a very poor plant. You'll have flower abortions. The flowers drop. Even the fruits will be small and they will not be ripened well. You
also mentioned that this is the best stage. Why is it so?
This is the best stage because you require to feed it so that it can support all the nutrients. You see, from here, down there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 children to be fed at different stages. So if you want to have the production, you need to feed it properly at this time so that the fruits will grow to maturity, the flowers will continue, and it's still growing to produce more and more.
I see the tomatoes are already supported. At what point do you start supporting it?
So we support it to help it to grow because its stem is not strong. So we start it when it's small, about 1 foot from the ground. That is when we put the strings to support it.
So aside from this supporting item, what are other key things that a farmer who's intending to venture into this should really have in mind when starting?
One of the key requirements is about knowledge of the crop. What does the plant require from time? Because there are different stages. When it's young, it has its own requirements. You need a lot of fertilizer which help it grow faster. When it starts flowering, you have to balance between growth and the fruits. So you have nutrients that balance between growth and also the fruits. So the other requirements you need is to how to handle this plant. Because I'll give you an example. It continues giving shoots like this. So you have to remove them. That is the management, agronomic management. You remove this one and you dispose them.
So why do you remove the shoots?
Because you don't need this, you need the main stem which is giving the flowers.
How do you manage pests and diseases here?
With the greenhouses, we are a bit safer because already it's an enclosed place. So we have been protected from outside. But occasionally pests come in. They can come through the door or some opening, any opening. Or people who are working here, they can carry the pests from one area to another through their clothes. So we need to have sanitation. Our doors should be closed always. So the other thing is that we need to spray to know which pests attack. And we have some monitors. As you can see, we are hanging yellow and blue stickers. This was help us to monitor the main pests, especially white flies and the thrips.
I also saw grasshoppers on the other side. Is it part of the pests and diseases? Does it affect cherry tomatoes?
Yes, actually, when we are preparing to plant, we need to spray.
Anthony, recently the prices or the cost of fertilizer has really been going up. How have you been going about it?
Because this system is controlled, we know how much of fertilizer we need to use, and when we calculate, it's very cost effective.
Aside from pest and fertilizer, what are other challenges that you experience as a cherry tomato farmer?
The other challenges is management. We have to train people how to manage the crop, because this is a crop that you need to be, as I said, to be here almost every day.
So can cherry tomatoes be grown in open field?
For cherry tomatoes outside, it's very difficult because of the pests and diseases. We have one pest which is very notorious. It's attacking the tomatoes.
So right from planting, how long will it take before you start harvesting?
From planting, it will take like 2 months and 2.5 months, depending on the variety. Some varieties delay a bit.
Would you say it's a good venture?
It's a good venture. And I'm encouraging young people because they don't have space and they don't have much. They can use technology like those timers. You can even monitor using your mobile. You can integrate or you can produce something. So we'll be interested in people coming in, young people, seeing how we can innovate this one to better.
Anthony, so before we go to the next level, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about this project.
This project was started by World Bank through Equity Foundation. So they are financing young people. Each one of these greenhouses is owned by 2 young people.
Anthony, that's so
Thank
nice.
you.
Wow, I'm so sure by now you want to be a cherry tomato farmer. You can be a cherry tomato farmer as well in your small portion or your large portion of land. And he's been talking about the varieties, the red, the orange, the yellow. Now we're going to that section, as in for real. Let's go. Tuende Anthony. Hapa. Sasa nataka kuona hiyo yellow na nionje. So this is the harvesting stage?
Yes. And now already the cherry tomatoes are ripe. We harvest them.
And there are many varieties.
And then they are beautiful. And then we take them to greenhouse and to the market.
Then you grade. What's the difference though?
The colors and the market preferences.
So which one commands the market amongst these?
90% of the market is the red one, followed by the other colors.
So generally, how is the market for cherry tomatoes?
It's a growing market because we are having more of people in the middle income class. They are moving to this kind of crops and the market is good. We are selling at around between 60 and 80 shillings per pallet of 250 grams.
You ventured into cherry tomato and you also know a little bit about the regular tomatoes. Which one is really a good one to grow?
Cherry tomatoes, because you can grow it in a small area and it doesn't require a lot of labor and it is not very competitive now.
What do you like most about cherry tomatoes?
The taste. It's nice. And also the market is good.
Now you've seen the different varieties of cherry tomatoes, from the orange, red, and the yellow one. What's your preference? Now we are going to my favorite part of the show, harvest time. Let's go. So zenye zimeiva are these ones. So you harvest from the stalk?
Yes.
I really love cherry tomatoes. Anthony, the smaller the size, the sweeter it is.
Yes. The smaller the size, the sweeter.
Anthony, so these small ones, we can eat them here.
Yes.
They look so sumptuous. Sister, I'm so curious.
Yes.
What are the nutritional values of cherry tomatoes?
These cherry tomatoes, they are rich in vitamin A, vitamin C. They also have minerals like potassium, iron, and calcium. So they are very variable in our bodies. You have known the nutritional value of the cherry tomatoes. Now I want you to taste this. And I will start with the red one.
Okay. I start with this one.
Yes. How is it?
The red one is sweet. It's always sweet.
Now, I don't know whether to give you the yellow or the orange. Let me give you the orange. Taste that one.
It's really nice.
And lastly, we have the yellow one.
Yellow is
Is
big. And this one I won't put. Not bad, but the red one wins. I've tested all the 3 varieties, red, orange, and the yellow one. But as always, the red one wins. It's sweeter, it's tastier. But the rest of them, you can use it also for salads, and it's very nutritious. I hope you've learned something from today's episode of Kilimo na Biashara. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Until next week, same time, my name is Linda Koskei. See you again.